Are lyrics, like, important to you? Like, do they have meaning? Are they a vital aspect of the music listening experience? If so, good, because I'm making an entire series of video essays built upon that premise. If not, I would like to change your mind. But I'm not going to directly try to do that. Instead, I'm going to provide you with a series of principles and tactics that you can use to learn the art of interpreting music lyrics. But as a preface to that series, I want to break down some of the presumptions that I'm going into that series with, because if you disagree with some of those presumptions and you don't understand what they are, then you're not going to be capable of really understanding what I'm trying to say. It would all just seem like nonsense to you. So that's what this video's for. The first presumption is that good lyrics are true. I feel like especially in Christian land, people put a lot of thought into, is the content of this music appropriate? And there's a place for that, especially when it comes to guarding the hearts of children. But I think there's something more important than that. Is the theme true, you know? If an artist is talking about drinking alcohol and smoking weed, but he's portraying it as this is detrimental and not helpful and not good for me, and it's a metaphor for the fact that I'm in a bad place, and he actually is in a bad place, then for adults, I don't see a problem with consuming that piece of content. But if he's talking about substance abuse in a way that glorifies it and argues that it's good or implies that it's good, or have this hedonistic nihilist worldview, then that's probably not worth listening to. Now, one criticism you might have about this is, Ben, I don't know everything that's true. Just because it agrees with my worldview doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. And you have a point there. We don't know everything. We're not right about everything. So I'm not saying you shouldn't be open to letting lyrics change your mind, but at the same time, things that are just obviously outright lies are probably not what you want to be putting into your head. My next presumption is good lyrics have unique style. I don't like it when there's an entire genre that uses the same metaphors and the same tropes and the same style in every single song by every single artist. I just don't see that as artistic, right? Like, here's another presumption that I didn't write down, but lyrics are a form of art. And art is skilled human creativity that speaks truth and is beautiful. When you try to make something to meet the definitions of a genre, then that not only has less skill to do because you're copy and pasting the same format, but it's also less beautiful. And music should be art, and art should be skilled and beautiful. If you're like a big country fan or a big rap fan, I'm not gonna judge you for that. But I hope that the way in which you approach those things and the way in which you decide what good rap is and decide what good country is are improved through what I try to teach through this series. I think good lyrics accrue levels of meaning. And what I mean by that is, when you listen to a song the first time, you consume the meaning subconsciously, and it really affects your soul. And as you listen to that song more, let it get stuck in your head throughout the day, walk around throughout the day doing whatever with the song kind of repeating in your head, you gain a better understanding of what the message of the song is and what certain stanzas mean. I think lyrics that are skillfully and beautifully written have a lot of deep meaning to them, and so much deep meaning to them that you can discover more of that meaning each time you listen to the song. So as I explained somewhat in that last presumption, lyrics are consumed somewhat subconsciously, especially the first time around, and even especially when you're younger. I think about the way I listened to American Pie as a 7-year-old when it's playing on the radio in the car, and it's the first time I've ever heard it. And I don't know the historical context behind what's going on in the song. I don't know what anything technically means, but on some level, I could, feel what this song meant. It felt like the mourning over the death of a culture. And I couldn't word it that way when I was a kid. If you asked me, what is this song about? Who knows what I would have said, honestly. But then when I go into the song, when I was, say, 16, listening to it on Spotify for their kind of re-experiencing the song for the first time, I attacked it very consciously, trying to approach, what does this line mean? What does this line mean? What does this line mean? But if I would have just listened to my heart and heard this is about the death of a beautiful aspect of culture, then I could have gotten a lot farther than Googling what historical event is he talking about. You know, like so many people, this is a completely side thing that American Pie makes me think of, but so many people think, oh, I know what the song's about because I know it's about the death of Buddy Holly. And it's like, no, you couldn't say how any given lyric in that song relates to that. You don't know what Chevy's to the levee mean. You don't know what American Pie means. You don't know what the jester and the king and queen and the court mean. You don't really know what it means. So I guess another presumption is that you ought to know, in some sense, what a song means, and that you ought to do that both subconsciously and consciously. So child me missed out on the more conscious aspects of interpreting the song, but 16-year-old me missed out on the subconscious aspects of being able to understand the meaning of the song. If you stubbornly hold to the idea that lyrics ought not to have any deep meaning and ought not to be an art form and are just a side thing to make a song sound better, and all that matters is the way the song makes you feel, and you're stubbornly committed to that position, then I'm not going to be offended if you refuse to watch my series, because it's all going to feel like a bunch of baloney to you. But at the same time, I do want you to watch it because I would like to reach your heart and your mind to lead you to what I believe is a better place. There's a lot of subjective things about music, whether you like music to tell you a story or have philosophical themes, or whether you want it to have religious themes, or whether you want to hear about the singer's life, or whether you want to hear about fictional tales, or whether you want everything to be metaphorical, or whether you want everything to be literal. Those things are all subjective. But what's objective is that lyrics exist and therefore must exist for some reason, and I don't think that reason is just to sound good. I think that reason is to reflect God's truth and God's beauty. And I'm trying to learn to be better at appreciating the skill that goes into that, and I want to bring you along with that process. All right, goodbye.